Okay guys, let's find out. Is the new Vcore 100 white hot or not? Hi guys, and welcome to the first ever product playtest for Racket Sports Academy. I can't believe that we've been given an opportunity like this, and it is to playtest the brand new Vcore 100 from Yonex. The racket is due out on the 15th of this month. It's very kindly been sent to us from topspintennis.co.uk. They have a very good link up with Yonex and have chosen us to do a pre-release playtest, and we couldn't not resist put it into a video, so here we are. Okay, so the video is going to consist of various elements. Obviously we're going to cover all of the different shots and how this feels. What we're also going to do is go through some of the updates and the technology involved in this particular racket, and furthermore look at who the racket would suit, which particular playing style it would be best suited to, and then I'm just going to give my overall personal opinion of the racket in general. Okay, so going through some of the updates and the tech involved in this racket, what I'm going to cover is the elements of technology that I feel warrant being mentioned. I sometimes feel that there are manufacturers out there that maybe overhype some of the technology that they put into a racket, and so I don't want to congest the video up with stuff that I don't feel is relevant. So basically, if I feel that some of the technology that Yonex have obviously put into this racket works and does what it says on the tin, then I will say how that relates to how we play on court, or how you may play on court. First of all, isometric head shape. Yonex have had this particular very unique design since they started building rackets in 1974, tennis rackets that is. The idea behind it is that it provides a much larger sweet spot than the size of the head shape. So for example, in the Vcore lineup particularly, they do a 95 square inch head, so a mid plus, and a 98 square inch head. The idea behind them is that the 95 plays as though it has a larger sweet spot, so it plays as though it has maybe a 97 or a 98 square inch head sized sweet spot. That's a mouthful. And 98 to the 100. I feel when you get to maybe the 100 size, because of the size of the racket head anyway, I feel that it's probably decreased ever so slightly. But that's the first piece of tech and synonymous with Yonex. Secondly, are the aero fins, or basically the aerodynamics side of things, what Yonex have designed into the racket. So there's a few things on here. We've got some specific fins down here on the lower throat section. We've got some further fins on the upper hoop on the outer grommet strip, and just slightly into the head of the frame here. Then we also have what they've put into the Vcore range, which is this here, which is an aero trench. And basically what that does is it hides somewhat of the profile of the grommets. As you can see, they don't stick out quite as much as on some other manufacturers' rackets. So that's the second piece of technology. And the idea behind that is that the swing speed of the racket, or racket head speed, is increased through aerodynamics. I mean, it makes sense. F1 cars are designed the way they are to go faster through the air, so why not on a tennis racket? So the third piece of technology I just want to mention is to do with their NAMD. It's their nanomaterials tech, and it's effectively the type of carbon layup to do with how they build the rackets. It's what I call repulsion tech. A lot of more modern rackets and how they're being designed now is that as the ball makes impact, the racket is actually assisting in sending the ball, so the frame is assisting in it, more so than what it has done in maybe past generations of rackets, and that's through all manufacturers who have have or who are designing in repulsion tech to their frames. So that's their NAMD. And then the last piece of technology is VDM, or vibration dampening mesh. Idea behind that is that it dampens the vibrations that are created from the frame. It's Yonex's take on it, and it is placed within the handle area of the racket, and it's said to reduce up to 30% of the vibrations through the racket. Okay, so the reason for getting a summary of the tech involved in this particular frame out of the way first is because I wanted to give you a rundown of what it is, and then what I'll do in the playtest and when we cover off the ground strokes, etc., I will give you a relationship of how that tech is involved in that particular shot or stroke that I'm playing. Okay, so just to explain a little bit about the Vcore family in Yonex's lineup, I think Yonex have a very clear lineup in terms of their families of rackets. So they have the Vcore Pro, which is aimed at control. They have the E-Zone, which is aimed at power. And then they have the Vcore range, which is aimed at producing additional spin. I think that's a very clear lineup because you can ascertain which particular family of rackets you want to gravitate towards, which maybe suits your game or what you're looking for from your next racket. And then you can dial it into the 95, the 98, the 100, or particular weight of racket within that family in the Yonex tree. I think it's great, and this one is the 300 gram, and as I've already mentioned, is a 100 square inch head. The strings in it are Yonex Polytour Pro, and it's been strung at £55 for us to trial. Right, moving on to how this thing plays. Okay, so we're going to go through a list of shots and then describe how this racket executes each of those particular shots, or how well it does. So first off is forehands, backhands. This thing is made for baseline hitting. It is immense. The power that this thing can develop is tremendous. I mean, real effortless power. So much so that the first couple of hours of hitting, who I was hitting with at the time made a conscious comment of, "What are you doing? You are really pushing me back off the court." And that's in comparison to me playing with a Yonex DR98. I didn't feel like I was swinging any harder, but it was developing very heavy balls, both power and the way that it's obviously designed, that extra spin. So the balls were really ripping into the court, really ripping up towards my hitting partner or opponent. So forehands and backhands, it happened both sides. You've got a lot of margin for error. This has got a relatively open string pattern, so the launch angle of the ball was very good over the net, but you've then got the technology built into the frame that is helping with that spin and obviously bring the ball back down into court. I found it quite addictive, really, because I have quite a flat game, and to almost be given that additional spin especially, but certainly the additional power of this frame free of charge was fantastic. And as I say, that was both sides, so that was coming over the ball, forehand and backhand drive. Secondly, moving on to slice, mainly backhand slice. Backhand slice was very solid, really solid. The frame itself, the way it's been constructed, and the weighting of the racket. So this particular racket, unstrung, has got a 6-point headlight balance. When strung, brings it down to about 4, meaning that there will be the feeling of more weight towards the hoop end. So as you're swinging, you'll feel like the racket is helping you bring the racket through the shot. Now, it doesn't mean to say it's head heavy, it's just closer to being head heavy on that weighting headlight to head heavy scale. What that means is that when slicing the ball, you can really get a heavy undercut to it. So there was a real nice feeling of the racket helping and aiding being sliced underneath the ball, providing very heavy backspin. And you could see and feel that on court, especially with the height of the ball, how high it actually came up off the court. Very, very nice. Very confidence inspiring on a slice. Sometimes I think that we shy away a little bit of really going for a slice and making sure that that undercut is really heavy and use it as an attacking shot rather than a defensive shot. This develops the confidence to play an attacking style slice. Really, really nice. Very good. Okay, serves. This thing is a beast. It is an absolute weapon. First serves are absolute bombs. If you want a tee serve, this thing is the tool for the job. If you enjoy tee serving, tool for the job, 100%. The way the ball came off the racket was tremendous. The feeling that you got back, the feedback, and the additional free pace that this racket gives you on serve is incredible, really. Probably down to the thickness of the beam. The beam at the midpoint of the hoop is around about 25 millimeters, quite thick, but it produces a very nice consistent feeling of power on the serve, especially flat serves. And the benefit of the Vcore as well is that because it is developed and has that spin element designed into it, adding some slice to a serve and second serves, especially slice and kickers, are very easy to replicate time and time and time again. There was a great deal of kick being created from this racket, way more so than what I can develop with my DR. So, I wasn't especially changing my swing in order to develop extra kick just because I was using this racket. I was using the same stroke and it developed the extra spin for me. So that reassures me that that tech that Yonex are designing in actually works. Okay, returns. Return of serve was good, not amazing, and I think that's down to the overall size of the head, obviously size of the sweet spot. The accuracy of the racket, I would say, is good, not outstanding. Reason I feel that is that there's probably almost a bit of a contradiction. When I was hitting the ground strokes, you can really wind up for a full cut at the ball, and you're getting the full benefit of the frame, of the tech, and getting that feedback that's a really good all-round package. But then when you start to split down the elements, so for example returning, you're a lot of the time not taking such a big cut at the ball necessarily, especially on first serves probably. The frame didn't aid, I don't think, quite as much as when you're hitting that ground stroke. When you're hitting that ground stroke, the solidity and stability, which I'll come on to shortly, was of a real high quality. The feedback was nice, the comfort was nice, the ball goes where you want it to with that reassuring heavy spin, and the almost byproduct, because you're using this frame, of having that effortless power. But when you're coming on to returns, you're probably shortening that swing. It didn't seem as though there was quite as much assistance from the frame in order to send that ball into court with that heavy spin, direct it quite as easily, or with maybe as much power. So returning was solid, don't get me wrong, but not to the point where I would call it absolutely outstanding. As I mentioned, coming on to stability, overall the stability of the frame is really good, very, very nice. The size of the beam helps with that across the hoop. How the racket is being weighted, as I've already mentioned, will help with that. And what I mean is, but from the stability point of view, any off-center hits here that create a racket flicker. So you've probably all experienced it at some point. You hit a ball off center, racket quivers through the air, and sometimes over the top of the ball, or can be obviously higher up in the frame and underneath the ball, and potentially send it out. The overall stability with the frame, excellent. Yeah, very good, very happy with that. So that helped with returns. It was just the accuracy was lacking a little bit, and being able to get the ball consistently deep. Okay, so volleys. Vcore 100 is not, I would say, built as a volleying scalpel. It is built to be solid, to be able to direct the ball, but I felt that the frame was just lacking the ultimate feel in being able to finesse and touch and really be super accurate with those volleys. The part of the volleys which was good, and that's probably coming back to the stability of the racket, was being able just to literally block volley and send the ball in a location, more of a general location than a specific. You know, it's not a pinpoint, as I already said, not a volleying scalpel, but overall very happy, forehand and backhand. The thing what I would say about it is, because of the head balance, there needs to be a solid ready position with the racket. There's no good having this down by your side or down by your hip coming into net from an approach shot, because the weighting of the frame, it's not going to be super agile around the net. So if you do need to make that late volley, this is going to be relatively tough to do, albeit it's only 300 grams. It's the actual weighting in the hoop that provides that. But generally, volleying, not a problem. And as I come into the who is this racket for section of the video, I'll describe some elements of how I think that this fits into volleying and what type of play style. Right, offensive and defensive play. So this is definitely a racket for somebody who likes to take the ball on and likes to be offensive. This is a great tool to be able to put you up in a point within a couple of shots, and that's almost not without trying. That's wrong of me to say, but it will assist you in doing it. You don't need to overdo it. There doesn't need to be that forced tension in the arm or body in order to get that additional effortless power or spin. It comes automatically from the racket. So from a baseline perspective, wanting to drive the ball deep, great tool for the job. Defensive play, when I was hitting some defensive shots, especially out wide on the forehand to either stretch for a slice to bring the ball back into court, so a squash shot style, or even a kind of slower looped ball, I felt that I could almost hit it every single one of those balls in, simply because the spin effect of the racket helped on the slower ball to bring it in. That gave me the time to recover. And likewise, that squash shot. So relating it back to the backhand slice element of the video when I mentioned it, that happened as well on the forehand slice when really out wide. So coupled together, and for offensive and defensive play, a great all-rounder. More heavily towards the offensive, but overall, I'd be happy to have the elements of this racket when needing to defend a point. Yeah, really good, solid. Who is the Vcore 100 built for? What type of playing style? Well, you've probably put all the pieces of the puzzle together throughout the video. It's for, I feel, a baseliner, aggressive baseliner, somebody who likes to win points from the baseline, but isn't adverse to coming to the net. Sometimes I think baseliners can get carried away and they just stick to being at the back of the court and try and win every point like that. But what this does is it provides you with a great setup, a great foundation to come forward. So it may be even a racket that for somebody who is not as comfortable at the net, it's not always about being comfortable at the net, it's what has happened before that. So if you become better at that setup shot, or those two setup shots, build that point that bit more, giving you the ability to put that easy volley away so that you don't feel like you're maybe facing a bullet of a ground stroke to have to put away, then this is the racket that can do that job. I would class it as, if you enjoy playing with a serve +1 pattern of play, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. You've got probably the two best elements of this racket in play. So you've got huge first serves or great spin on the second serve, putting you up in the point. You've then got very heavy spun, effortless powered ground strokes. So there's your +1. And then you've got the ability to either take that next shot from a half court and probably put the ball away with a second ground stroke, or make your way to the net and send the ball, block volley the ball into that general location. Remember, I said it's not a volleying scalpel. Doesn't mean to say it can't volley, but the accuracy, you'd want a good proportion of space or a simple game plan in your head in order to serve +1, put the volley into the space, serve +1, put the volley behind the player. Something like that would suit this down to the ground, and I don't think you could go wrong really. In terms of maybe type, age of player or something like that, I think a transitioning junior to get up to slightly heavier rackets, so maybe coming from a 270, 275 gram, somewhere around that region, to come to something like this, I think it would be great because it gives superb stability, effortless power, and an all-round package that is very addictive. Furthermore, mid-level club players I think would enjoy this racket tremendously. If you were maybe a higher level club player, a bit more keen at coming to the net, wanted a bit more from volleys and possibly a little bit more feel and control from the back of the court, then this frame possibly isn't for you. But certainly for a mid-level player, this would be a great option for you to move across to, simply because of the additional power that you're getting and that spin that's built into the frame. And that might be something that you are not used to. If you've got a frame that is 5 years old, maybe even 3 years old, the technology is moving on so quickly that the kind of free 5, 6, 7% maybe that you might get from changing your racket within your game throughout the course of a year, that 5 to 7% that you're getting just from a different style of racket that's adding that extra spin might mean that you're getting those points that make the difference of winning those sets and then thus winning those matches, and that makes us feel good. Overall, I really liked the racket. I have previously tried the 5th generation, wasn't a massive fan, felt that it was too stiff without the moderated feedback, I would say. This racket has moved that on tremendously. I think that's probably the best way to describe it, that this moderates the feedback, not mutes it. I think that's the wrong description. A lot of Yonex rackets get classed as being muted. I disagree, simply because, think about it, you mute your television, you don't get some volume, you get no volume. And so I feel that's the wrong description for the racket or Yonex in general. What I feel is a better description is that Yonex have designed things into the racket that moderate what feedback you get, and then you will choose the particular lineup within the Yonex family tree, Vcore Pro, E-Zone, Vcore, that best identifies how you want to play or your playing style. I would love the opportunity to run this against a 98 or even a 95. I used to play with a 93F many years ago, and I loved that racket. Very dense string pattern mind, but overall, from a mid-plus racket, I just like and enjoy the feel of those rackets. It suits my game style. Playing with the 98, the DR98 currently, thoroughly enjoy that. Great all-round feel. Feel that I am lacking power at some points, but overall, I think a 98 or even a 95 in this would be a possible transition racket for me. I would be interested in testing them out to find out if the essence of this racket translates into those, being slightly heavier, with a slightly smaller head, maybe a bit more feel and feedback, but with the elements that make this a really nice all-round package. And I think that, you know, sums it up. If I was going to give it a score out of 10 for me personally, I'd probably give it a 6.5, maybe a 7. For a mid-level club player or transitioning junior, it's got to be way up there. Go and try this. If you're that type of player, or just in general enjoy playing from the baseline and like an aggressive baseline style of play, go and try this racket. Look up topspintennis.co.uk. I know for a fact they've got a fantastic demo program. I personally have used them many times. So thanks to them for sending this out. Thanks to Yonex for giving us the opportunity, and hopefully we'll be able to bring you some more videos and reviews in the future. Thanks very much. See you again soon. Bye bye for now.